Do you feel like Disney Speedstorm ability should be nerfed? And if so, how would you go about nerfing it? Let me know in the comments down below. Welcome back, everyone, to Poppin' Often with Lofted. Today, we are going to be talking about Disney Speedstorm abilities. Specifically, should they be nerfed and how should they be nerfed? For those of you that don't know, Disney Speedstorm is coming free to play on all platforms September 28th. This means Gameloft, I am talking to you. This means we have one more chance to wow an audience. No, I'm only saying this because I've spent over 200 hours on this game. I've literally given a lot of time to this game. I love this game. It is a great design. The mechanics are great. The game is on a gold mine. However, we have some things we need to iron out if we want these free-to-play people, so to speak, to continue playing the game and invite their friends and have a really good time. This is straight up going to be the make or break of Disney Speedstorm. If it's going to get shut down, if it's going to stop development but stay online, if it's going to just stop the vision that we had when it first came out, this is the make or break. The first thing I want to talk about are abilities. Now, within Disney Speedstorm, the way abilities are explained, there's character abilities and then there's abilities you pick up. For simplicity's sake, when I'm talking about abilities, we're going to refer to the character abilities. When I'm talking about items, we're referring to the things you pick up, similar to Mario Kart. So character abilities within Disney Speedstorm is actually a really, really cool concept. I really enjoy the character abilities. I think it's amazing, actually. However, it's not really handled the best way it could be. Let's take another example from Mario Kart. Mario Kart is fun, and it's always fun. They can make one game and have that game sit for years, and people continue to play it, new people continue to come. Heck, they even buy a Switch so they can play the game. They spend $200 to $300 on a console so they can play a game that costs about 50, 60 bucks. Like, that is crazy, right? Now, one of the things you could say is that Mario Kart is successful because, you know, it's Mario. Like, everybody knows Mario. However, we can't use that excuse for Disney because everybody knows Disney. That's not an excuse anymore, Gameloft. We can't use that. And also, Disney Speedstorm is on the Switch. So, again, equal opportunity. One of the things that makes Mario Kart fun is the fact that even if you are good, average, or horrible, you still can compete and it doesn't feel stressful. Yes, it sucks to get hit with an ability. Yes, it sucks to be stunned. But that's how kart games work. However, Mario's way of balancing this is if you are further ahead, the items that you get are less advantageous. If you are further behind, the items you get are more advantageous, right? And this leads to that, oh, I'm in 7th, I'm in 8th. How many times are you guys like, I need a bullet, I need a bullet, I need a star, I need those mushrooms, I need them to catch up, come on, give me the bullet. And then you get it, you're like, yes, I got the bullet. That's not in Disney Speedstorm, unfortunately. There's no feel for that when we're talking about character abilities. Character abilities can be the equivalent of those specific abilities like a blue shell, a bullet, a star, the multi-mushroom, golden mushroom thing. Like, that can be summed up as the same thing. In Disney Speedstorm, you can get that ability back to back to back to back. And this leads to that issue of, well, if you're first and you continue to get bullets and blue shells and stars, how is that fair? Once you are ahead, how do I win? This is one of the issues that makes the game frustrating. A lot of the times, in order to be successful in Disney Speedstorm, not to toot my own horn, but you need to be good. Like, you need to be good if you're going to actually compete against others. We're talking regulated, we're talking ranked, and honestly, we're also talking bots as well. Bots be getting nasty with it, and it all stems from the same thing. They keep getting these really impactful abilities for no reason. If you're already ahead, you should not be getting the abilities back to back to back. Now, I made a video in the past. If you guys haven't seen it, go check that out. But in that video, I discussed things that need to be changed within Disney Speedstorm to make it successful. However, this video is specifically talking about abilities. That video was talking about everything in general. The reason I bring that video up was because I said something about a power meter. A power meter can be the way that your character can gain their ultimate ability, so it keeps it a little bit more fair. And once you're in first, maybe you can't use the ability, or maybe you can't gain it as fast. The further you are ahead, the longer it takes to gain the ability. The further you are behind, the easier it takes to gain ability. For those of you that don't know, each class has a specific way to play. So if we make it so that the bar fills up based off how the class is designed to play, it adds an extra layer of skill, but also adds an extra layer of counterplay. So for speedsters, the way that they play is they go over speed pads to get boosts. Make that the way that they fill up their meter. For brawlers, the way that they get boosts is by hitting you with abilities and ramming into you. Make that a way that they fill up their meter. For defenders, staying behind players in their slipstream is how you get a boost. Also, if a defender rams into you, they get a free barrier basically. Have them get their meter off of slipstream and deflecting abilities. And then for the final one, Trickster, they get more boosts for drifting. So make drifting be how they fill up their meter. Again, this will help curve that I get my ability over and over and over again, because if they are in the front, once again, they get it less. And if they're in the back, they get it more. It feeds into that bullet mentality. It feeds into that blue shell, that star. It feeds really into that, I need it, hurry up, I need it. And it gives you that relief once you get it. The second thing I want to talk about are star ups. Now, I actually really like this system. The shard system with the star ups, it's beautiful. I like it a lot. A lot of you guys might be thinking, well, you have to cash in order to get it. They really do give you a lot of materials. You just have to play the game at that time. If you're someone who takes breaks from Speedstorm, well, you're going to miss out on a lot of materials. So I don't really know how they're going to combat that, but I do know as someone who doesn't really spend a lot of cash, I only buy cosmetics if I spend cash. I have really high racers. And that's because I focus on specific racers that I want at that moment. Instead of trying to spread everything out to every single character, I also play the events that give you these items. So I think the star up system is great. However, I don't like the star up system when it comes down to upgrading the ability of the character and upgrading the items. When you start up your character, for those of you that don't know, the character abilities and the items get a boost. They can be lasting longer, they can make you faster, they can be bigger, they can have more debris in the road. Like, there's a lot that comes with starting up your character. That should not be a thing. I think they should remove that and make all abilities flat. Make it so that your ability lingers as long as it's supposed to. Their ability has, as you know, make it balanced so like it's fair to everybody. Now, speaking of that, we also need to make it so that we can't get hit by the same ability multiple times. If we're talking about Stitch, he does the little laser thing that does this. You get smacked once, you just keep driving, but there's no counterplay and you get smacked again. No counterplay, smacked again. And this is even further exacerbated when there are multiple of the same character. So there should be a limit to how many times you can get hit by one ability. We're talking about, I keep forgetting her name, but the girl with the blonde hair, like I said before, Stitch. Jessie's the same. Jessie has counterplay though if you just move around a lot, but all these characters with like trails behind them. Even when we're talking about abilities like the fire ability with the trail, you can run into that several times. You should only be able to run into an ability once, period. That makes this game a lot more fair, and it makes, again, these abilities feel more impactful. You feel like you can't just blast it off willy-nilly. It's like, okay, I need to make sure that I time it properly if I want to use my super. I also want to add a little side note to the combat stat. That needs to be either reworked or removed, because you should not have a specific character get stunned longer than a character that has a higher combat score. Again, when we start up our characters, our ability gets stronger. Sometimes your stuns are intentionally going to last longer. So if you have a low combat score and that person has a high ability, it's going to stun you for longer, which means you can't move for a long time. There's times where I couldn't move for like 2 seconds. What? That's detrimental. It should be flat. Whenever you're hit by an ability, you are stunned for that flat amount of time. I think the combat score should matter for ramming. Just like in Mario Kart, you really can't ram the big guys. Like Donkey Kong, Bowser, it's hard to slam those guys. It's hard to really take those guys out. If you run into them, you just kind of bounce off. Like, that's how the combat stat should work. It should not dictate how long you are stuck. So to wrap up here, when we're talking about the character abilities, the star up, and the regular items, we want to make sure that we're not making this game extremely hardcore. If I were to have a casual player as a friend come play Speedstorm with me, they wouldn't like it. There's essentially really no way to hold their hand when they come either. Either you're gonna play ranked with them and just like stomp the game because they don't really have any materials, or you're gonna play regulated and it's just unfun because everything's broken. Like, there's no way to ease people in. We should be able to have a co-op starter circuit. We should be able to have a co-op season tour. We should be able to play with our friends and progress through together. And you could say, well, what if my friend just boosts me through the starter circuit? If that's how people want to play, that's how it's gonna be. If I have a friend that's racing with me in my starter circuit and I'm level 3 and they're level 30, well, actually just make it regulated. What? Make every starter circuit regulated, make every season tour regulated, and so people can play with their friends. They have to play the same character, or maybe they have to play the same the levels. Like, just make everything the same. Like, one of the main things is you shouldn't limit the fun. If people want to play with their friend and their friend is better, let them, because they can ease them into the game. If I could play bots with a friend in the starter circuit, you know how much fun that'd be? Like, that'd be awesome, because then we can ease them in, help them get materials, and have a much more fun time. But to recap, the abilities, the star ups, and the items that you pick up, the way that they work, the items should be flat. You should not be able to get hit twice with an ability. You should be able to play with your friend in the starter circuit. You should be able to play with your friend in the season tour. When you start up your character, the only thing that should change is their stats. I think the star up system and the leveling system is great. We also need to make sure abilities are scarce. If we can't implement a character meter, then what we need to do is make it scarce so that they get less of it if they are ahead and they get more of it if they are behind. And last but not least, that combat system has got to go. Characters should not be stunned for an additional time. If they're smacked with an item, everybody should be stunned flat, period, because it breeds the incentive to always be top dog. It breeds the incentive of like, oh, I have to do all that to be that strong. I don't want to play. I have to get my stars to get abilities. I don't want to play. Like, it's really not fun. Let characters have their ability star 1, period. Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you thumbs up. If you guys want to see more Disney Speedstorm content, not only just talk videos like this, but also just Disney Speedstorm content in general, make sure you subscribe. That way you're notified. And until next time, know what I always say. Thank you guys for doing what? Happen often. Will often.